and all of that. He completely undermines his whole program when he does something that they're going to sit and look at each other, them being the older folks, and go, see, only a pothead would do something like that.
You know, that's a really interesting point, because I do think that there is a legitimate case that can logically be made for legalizing pot. I really do.
I do, too.
Having said that, I really don't think that was his motivation. I think he wanted the burst of laughter and applause, and I think that is the technique of somebody who feels like they can't win an argument in the realm of logic and reason. I think he resorted to gimmickry. Yeah. All right, very interesting point. Glad you called, Dean. Thank you very much. Let's go to Tom in Renton. Hey, Tom, you're on News Talk 97.3 Cairo FM.
Hey, Dori.
Hey,
yeah, I agree with everything that first caller just said. However, I think the kid was kind of going for testing, calling them out to see if they were serious. And what was the name of that class?
Well, the event is something called Rhetoric Revels.
Yeah, Rhetoric Rebels. Okay, you want us to be a Rhetoric Rebel? Here's some...
No, Revel, R-E-V. V is in victory, R-E-V, Revel. Like,
oh.
Yeah, not Rebel.
Oh, well, then never mind. We used to get busted smoking dope all the time back on Mercer Island. We had a huge pot leaf at the boiler room painted on the wall. It stayed there all year long.
Really?
You know? Oh, yeah.
At Mercer Island High School?
At Mercer Island High School.
Why did Mercer Island kids need the escapism of drugs? I thought life was ideal on the Rock.
You know, that's funny because, not all of them are rich kids.
Yeah, I know.
You know, we were the outcasts. We hung out at the boiler room.
There you go. All right. Tom, good to hear from you. Thank you. Let's go to Scott in Enumclaw. Scott, you're on News Talk 97.3 Cairo FM. Hello.
Hi, Dori.
Hey, Scott.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm
Beautiful.
a big fan.
Thank you very much.
Listen, I think this kid was courageous. I mean, he should have known, first and foremost, he was going to get expelled for doing that. That's common knowledge. But it's bold, in-your-face kind of acts like that are going to do what it takes to help decriminalize this at least.
How does this help that cause? I mean, I'm all for bold action. I just don't see how this helps accomplish that goal.
Well, it lets people know that in 2009 we're an evolved society. Weed isn't looked at the same as it was 20 years ago. I mean, it's common knowledge that the majority of the people who are going to give these types of speeches are obviously going to smoke. So to see them, that proud and standing up for their conviction is, you got to at least give them credit for it. I feel like he should have known he was going to get expelled. Obvious, but
and he did, and he says he accepts the punishment. He went to jail. He got, he's going to have this on his record. I don't know if it'll affect him with his college choice. He took his SAT on Friday, I believe, and says he hopes to go to Humboldt State down in California. Okay, I may have time for another call or two on this. I've got a couple other things I want to get to, plus today's sign that the end is near. All straight ahead on the Dori Monson Show. Man, did you hear this interview Dave Ross had this morning with this woman who's getting paid $20,000 to sit up in the bridge tower of the Fremont Bridge? Public money, taxpayer dollars, a public art project funded by the Seattle Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs. 38-year-old artist named Kristen Ramirez, and her project is to sit and record sounds of the Fremont Bridge, which you or I could go do in an hour. Go sit down there with the recorder, and we could record it for an hour. There's a $20,000 grant of taxpayer money that she's received, and she told Dave what we're going to get for the $20,000.
So it might look like a phone number that you call. It might look like maybe a band on the radio dial. I'm not sure how I'm going to get.
So it might be like
out.
a phone number I call to hear the sounds of the Fremont Bridge.
Yeah, like while you're waiting for the bridge.
While
it'd be a nice time to call and hear stories. And
hear stories about the bridge I'm waiting to come down again.
That's right.
Unbelievable. We're $40 million in the hole in the city of Seattle, and we're spending $20,000 on this. And yeah, I think Dave knew that I might be a little critical of this, and he asked about critics of these public art projects.
Well, I don't think art is a waste of money. I think art can be a powerful tool that changes your awareness of the world. And as an artist, I believe that firmly. And I'm also an educator, so I believe that art can be transformative. So I don't, I beg to differ because I don't believe that art is a waste of money. And, as far as the $20,000 goes, that, for the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs, it's actually a pretty modest budget because that covers my residency. So, paying me in essence, and I'm going to be in there just about 4 months. So that pays, my kind of part-time salary, but then that also covers all of the fabrication fees and publicity fees and any kind of permitting I have to get. So that budget covers anything involved with the project.
But we're laying off thousands of teachers, though. This is unbelievable. Oh, and it's not her first public art endeavor. She also painted a mural on a building that nobody can see. And who was the customer for that public art project?
So last summer, I was involved with an organization called Urban Artworks, and I worked with 12 youth to paint a really gigantic mural on the Sound Transit Corridor. It's on 5th and Holgate, and that's accessible, soon via light rail, but by foot or bicycle, and you can kind of see it out your car window if you look quickly. You can't drive down that street.
Well, that sounds pretty cool, but why would you put something that extensive on the back of a building that the train's going to go speeding by?
Well, hopefully you are on that train, or you're riding your bike, or you're riding down that corridor. There are a lot of people that go down that corridor, just not cars.
I'm telling you, it's like this region is run by a bunch of mental patients. We're $40 million in the hole. We're painting murals on buildings, on streets people can't drive. Well, if you can walk up there, though. Down the industrial neighborhood down there. We're spending money on that. And these artists, I'm telling you again, they're nothing but a bunch of deadbeats. These people, they couldn't sell rainwater in a desert. But they just suckle at the public teat with these public art projects, $20,000 to record some sounds, painting murals on buildings that trains go speeding past. And this is what we're spending our money on. By the way, we don't have enough money for trash cans in the parks. We got to lay off hundreds or thousands of teachers. But murals on the back of buildings along high-speed train corridor, oh, yeah, we got money for that. We got mental patients running the region. Are you and I the only sane ones? All right, coming up next, today's sign that the end is near. Straight ahead on the Dori Monson Show.